What's going on, everybody? My name is Dylan, also known as PatsFan177. Welcome back to the channel again today. And finally, we have the end of the Gordon Hayward saga, for better or for worse. The Gordon Hayward saga free agency thing is finally over after news that he was going to sign with the Charlotte Hornets after opting out. The Boston Celtics officially will get something in return for the departed veteran. Celtics and Hornets completed a sign and trade Sunday that sends Hayward and 2 future second-round draft picks to Charlotte and a conditional future second-round pick to Boston, the teams announced. Obviously the picks are not really anything special here. We gave them an extra couple picks just to do this because otherwise the Charlotte Hornets had no incentive to actually make this a sign and trade. Nicholas Batum was on their roster and they are just going to waive and stretch him, which they didn't want to do originally. At first they said they were going to, and then they reversed and said they weren't, and then they ended up actually just doing that because I don't think they could find anybody to take on his contract. He had some really bad stats. I think he played upwards of 20 minutes per game and scored maybe 3 points per game. He's definitely on the downside of his career. He's just not very effective. And he was owed $27 million this year, I believe, and so they're gonna have to waive him and most likely stretch that at $9 million for what did they say, 3 years, I think. So that's gonna be tough for them. And that makes that Gordon Hayward deal, that price tag goes up by $9 million each year now that they had to do that just to fit him under the cap. But it wasn't ideal, and they had the cap space when they did that. We had to give up a couple second rounders just to make it so that they would do the sign and trade. And it's basically Charlotte is getting something for doing what they were going to do anyways. So it's a smart move for Charlotte saying, okay, we'll take a couple second round picks. And the one that we got back from the deal is heavily protected. I think it's like top 55 protected, which is insane. So we don't even get it if it's in the top 55, which, knowing Charlotte, if it's theirs, it probably will be. So yeah, there it goes. Gordon Hayward officially a member of the Charlotte Hornets. He signed an offer sheet there, I believe, in 2014, and now they get their guy 6 years later. Sign and trade deal. But the big thing for the Boston Celtics is the traded player exception that should equate to roughly $30 million. I think it's going to be really, yeah. I can't remember exactly the number. A lot of people have floated some numbers, but it's like 28 point something, I believe, million dollars that they're going to be able to spend. They now essentially have a free $30 million they can use to pay any players they acquire via trade. That's the great thing about this. That money would just have never existed if he signed there simply just straight up. You know, if they weren't able to work this out, he would have just signed there and that money never existed and we never get it. So I know it sucks to like give up a couple second rounders and not really get anything back since that draft pick is so heavily protected. You know, it's basically nothing back. But the TPE is really what we wanted out of this deal. Now, how could we use it? I don't know. There are so many options here. You're gonna hear a lot of names floated out there. And no, we can't like combine exceptions because we made 2 other exceptions with Enes Kanter and Vincent Poirier, which people thought that maybe we would use those, and we have yet to use them. I'm not sure if Danny will make any move in the coming days. I believe training camp starts on Tuesday, so I don't really know how many moves he's going to make, if any. I don't know if he's done. I think he probably might be because training camp starts so soon, and their roster is full right now. He probably feels pretty good about it. But, you know, you've got contracts like Javonte Green's contract is non-guaranteed. And you always feel like guys like Shemi Ojale or Carson Edwards can always maybe be like part of a trade or something. So they've floated already stuff like Aaron Gordon. You know, that's one. George Hill. That's another one that they've floated. Some people are saying Kevin Love, which would be awesome. And I don't know if he actually fits, but they're saying Kevin Love, and I think the pipe dream for everybody is probably someone like Buddy Hield if they ever decided to trade him for some insane reason. That is just a complete pipe dream that is zero chance of happening, I think, unless they really they want to get rid of him for some odd reason. After losing Bogdan Bogdanovic, I don't think they would be very wise to trade away Buddy Hield. But that's the big thing that the Celtics got out of this is around $30 million, give or take a couple million, um, without having to like give up any salary, and even if they do, it's they don't have to. That's a very valuable thing when you've got these disgruntled stars that might want out and their teams are under pressure. So this is good for a full year, so a complete calendar year from this day, or I think it might be changed because of the bubble. So like 3 weeks into next off season and next free agency, I think that's probably around the deadline to use this. So it might be at the trade deadline, it might be at the beginning of the off season next year. There's some possibility it could be tomorrow or sometime before the season starts. I don't have any idea. But it's going to be a really big asset for the Celtics to have, and to get this out of the Gordon Hayward deal, it's not ideal, but it's pretty good. It's a good value. The one thing that people are mad about, and I was mad at Danny Ainge for it as well, is that it appeared that there was a deal on the table with Indiana, and that Gordon would have taken less money to go to the Pacers, which is his hometown, Indiana, or his home state, you know what I mean. Um, and the reason that Danny didn't do this was that it was going to be centered around, I believe, Miles Turner, Doug McDermott, and a first-round pick. That's a lot. Or maybe it was just Miles Turner and the first-rounder, or it was either or. I'm not sure. But it was centered around Miles Turner. And Danny apparently did not want him. He thought that that contract was just way too much. I think he makes like $18 million a year. And even though he's young and he's got a whole ton of upside and he's a really solid player, and I like him a lot, we got Tristan Thompson, who's older and not maybe as offensively gifted and maybe can't stretch the floor as much, but he can grab the boards better than Miles Turner can. And he's maybe a bigger body, not in terms of height, but just size and muscle. He might be a bigger body to throw at some of these guys, and he's at half the price every year, you know? So that is something that I think Danny probably took into account, and he might not have just wanted that price tag for Miles Turner, even though he's a really good player. So that might be why that Indy deal fell through. I'm not sure. I have really no idea. But I'm not too mad at Danny. I think he still could have done something different here, and I would have loved Doug McDermott, and personally I would have loved Miles Turner, even though he is a lot of money. But if Danny feels like he can get something better with this TPE, and he can work something out with somebody else, he's got way more options now than he did if than he would have if he had just sent Hayward to Indiana. So we've got a lot of options, and we don't need to use it right now. So I know it kind of sucks, but just be patient, everybody, because I know, everybody's eager to get new players and go all in. But the good news about this team right now is that our young core is really intact, and they're all kind of growing together. And the guys that we have, like, that are a little older, like Kemba Walker and now Tristan Thompson, all those guys are under contract for at least 2 more years. So we got a couple more years, and if we want to use this next offseason, we can make a full push, I think with all our guys. All our main guys right now are still under contract going forward. So that's going to be something interesting. We have 2 smaller exceptions, and then the TPE that we just got from Gordon Hayward. So anyways, if you enjoyed this video, I hope you will leave a like and come back to see my later videos. Maybe I'll talk about the guys that the Celtics got, and the Patriots had a thrilling win today, last second field goal. So if you're interested in that, continue to come back to the channel. But other than that, I will see everybody later.